Hello and welcome back to Pep Talks. Today I am joined by the lovely Maria Newman. And for anybody who has tuned into Pep Talks, when I've had a guest on the episode, on the show, on the podcast, clearly my brain hasn't tuned in yet today. But for anybody who's listened in the past to any of my guest episodes, you will know that I don't really introduce the guests because I'm very much of the opinion that the guests can introduce themselves far better than I can. So I'm going to hand over to Maria. I'm going to ask her to tell us who she is, what she does, and maybe a little bit about your backstory and why you've got to the place that you're at now and why you're doing what you do.
Thank you, Sue. So I live in sunny Bristol with my husband and my two children. I have a 13-year-old daughter and I have a 10-year-old son. And three things that will give you an idea as to who I am and what I'm about is number one, I love food. I love talking about it, eating it, and cooking it. It is my love language. If I invite you round for dinner, I must like you. I love listening to Audible books. It's the way I consume content. It goes in and it stays in more than if I would read it. And the
Okay.
fun fact is, I listen at twice the speed.
Oh, wow. So if you were to read a book, would you skim read it then? If you were
No,
no.
no. So if I read a book, I literally have to read every single word. And so I obviously can read. I'm quite a slow reader. Um, so my preference is to listen because when I'm listening, I'm usually running as well. So I'm
Okay.
distracted by the run because I'm concentrating on what I'm listening to. So
So the pain that's going through your body is being exacerbated, not exacerbated, is being diminished by the fact that you have something going in your ears.
exactly, my brain is instead of focusing on have I done 3 miles yet? Have I done 3 miles yet? Have I done 3 miles yet? Is focused on, oh, isn't this interesting? How can we use that in life?
Amazing. And do you think because you listen to it on double speed, you have to concentrate harder?
Yes. And the interesting thing about listening to it on double speed is you can figure out who naturally in life talks really, 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 really quickly, and for those people who talk really, really slowly. So sometimes, I think there's only been once where the person spoke naturally really quickly, and so I actually couldn't listen to them on twice the speed because it was too much effort to
Yeah,
focus in.
becomes quite garbled then, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And there's being distracted by listening to a book when you're running, which is safe, and then there's a point where it becomes probably not safe. I need to
And
be
just
aware.
annoying.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and that one too.
Okay, so I think you said there were three
Oh
things. You
yeah.
said food, audiobooks. So what's the third?
So the third one is that in November of last year, 2025, I got my second dan black belt in kickboxing martial arts. And what makes it an even bigger achievement is I only started in January of 2019
Wow. You're clearly a natural. Clearly a natural.
and very competitive.
It's good to know yourself, isn't it? It is good to know yourself. And actually, as I think as business owners, I think we are naturally quite competitive, aren't we? Um, so long as it's healthy competition and we're not competing like with each other, it's more about competing with ourselves and seeing how much we can stretch ourselves and challenge ourselves to do the difficult thing and go, oh, that feels scary, but actually, I'm going to put that challenge on myself to actually do it.
I had this conversation with someone the other day where we were talking. I must have mentioned that I'm competitive, and they sort of pulled a face and they were like, oh, is it all right to sort of be competitive? And I'm like, absolutely, because at the end of the day, exactly what you said, Sue, the only person you're competing against is yourself. It's for you to be better than you were yesterday. And if that's your trail of thought, if that's who you're competing against, of course it's okay, because actually we're all starting from a different position. So it's not going to be equal. The only person you can compete against is yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that because I think we can get so drawn into competing with, or rather comparing ourselves with that person over there, but we've got no idea what their background is, how long they've been in business for, how much support they've got in the background, whether they've got kids. Well, we might know that, but whether if they've got kids, do they have a nanny? If they don't have kids, all of that. We just don't know. And we might know a little bit about their current business journey because they're probably sharing about that on social media. But we might not know about the stuff that went on like 5, 10, 15 years ago, even when they were at school or university or whatever. We just don't ever know that. We don't know it fully. They might have given
Mm.
us a flavour of it, but we never know fully. And so you're quite right. The only person we can ever compete with is ourselves. Yeah.
And then you can actually see competitors becoming friends. When I say competitors, I'm sort of thinking the sporting world. But even like here in our world, if we're competing against ourselves, then, we can let the guard down and
Yeah.
actually go, well, all right, there's another coach there. That doesn't matter. They're doing their own thing. They're a unique person. The people who go to them probably aren't the people who want to come to me anyway. And it
Yeah.
starts to bring down these barriers that we naturally put in our way because, oh, we're a business owner. Oh, is there enough work?
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I was talking to somebody yesterday about exactly that. And when we're in that mindset of, is there enough work? We actually end up pushing people away because we're so pushing in our own energy that rather than drawing people in and welcoming people into our worlds and giving them a nice warm hug, we're actually going, I need work, and and my energy is actually pushing you away. And so yeah, when we come back to ourselves, whether we're competing with ourselves or whether we're just honoring our own person, our own human, our own energy, we're much more likely to be in that come and have a nice warm hug with me
Mm,
energy, aren't we? Yeah.
definitely.
So I know you work a lot on limiting beliefs and mindset work and patterns and behaviors and that sort of thing. So is there a pattern or a limiting behavior that you see the most frequently in the clients that you work with, given we're talking about hugs rather than pushing?
I'm just about to release a blog on mindset and what stops us from the success that we deserve. And for me, there are three things that go into ensuring whether you progress forward or you stay stuck. And that's, do I believe I can? Am I hungry for it?
Oh,
Am I taking the right actions? And if you don't have all three of those, that will be the reason why you're not going to where you want to go. So,
mm,
you might believe you can, but if you don't really want it, then when things take a bit of a dip, you'll be like, there you go. Well, clearly it's not for me. You can believe you can and have the hunger, but if you're not taking the right actions, instead of going left, you might end up going right. And then you'll be like, oh, well, why didn't I get to where I want to go?
yeah. And that 1% off track
Yeah,
really makes a difference, doesn't it?
it
Because I
does.
mean, obviously, what you just shared is quite an extreme, like going left versus going right. But actually, it's the 1%. Because if we want to be going forwards and actually we're instead of going at a 90-degree angle, we're going at a 91-degree angle, we're just gradually going to end up like veering quite a
Yeah,
long way off track
yeah,
without even realizing. And I
exactly.
think that's so easy for us to do because it's only 1%. And so all the while that we're doing those 1%, we don't really notice anything. It's not till it gets to like 50, 60% that we're like, oh shit, I'm completely in the wrong place. And now I've got to bring myself back from where I am to where I actually want to be. Because it's never, certainly from my experience, it's never like a radical, I've well, sorry, not never. Yes, we make wrong decisions. We realize that often in the moment or, shortly afterwards, and we can pull back from that. But it's those minuscule actions that we take every day that we don't notice are taking us in the wrong direction, not the
Yeah,
big ones.
yes. And that's I would liken that to you wake up every day and you see your face. So you don't actually know how your face is changing.
Mm,
So take it back to when you haven't seen someone for a long time and then you see them again, then you'll notice the difference. And and that's the point you're making. It's because we're in it, we're doing it, that we can't see that, oh, that's not where I want to go.
yeah.
Because it's those small incremental steps that we're taking. It's not giant leaps.
So what enables us to spot that we've gone off track, do you think?
It's for me, it's that continuous check-in. So I'm going to ask this in two ways actually, because sometimes when we veer off of the route we're supposed to be taking, we're supposed to veer off. It's
Mm,
just we might not necessarily know it. So the key is awareness,
yeah.
not just aimlessly doing stuff, hoping that you'll get to your destination. So
Yeah.
awareness is the key of, where am I? What am I doing? Does this feel like it's the right place? Am I going in the direction that I want to be going in? And being okay with, if you get to a certain point, then go in, hang on a second, I need to change things now. Because from a human nature point of view, it's really easy to go, oh no, but I'm too invested now. I'm in this direction. I couldn't possibly like do anything different because I mean, it's all that energy I've poured into it. It's all that time I've poured into it. It's all that money. What will people think? So it's
Yeah.
like being compassionate to yourself and going, all right, then, I thought that was right. And now it shows, that that's not right. And I need to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love the fact you mentioned it's that feeling in your body because actually it's not the outward stuff that tells us whether we are aligned with our true destiny. And like you say, I mean, my path has woven all over the place. So if anybody's listened to the episode where I talk about why I'm now calling myself a business mentor, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I've literally, done all the things. And now I know why I did all those things, and they are all now supposed to have happened. But at the time there was a lot of like, well, why did I do that? And now I know. Now, and that's not to say that where I am now is where I'll be in 3, 4, 5 years' time. It might well do another like offshoot and head off in some other direction, and that's absolutely fine. And that is natural, I think, for any business owner. I know your business has evolved. We've spoken briefly about that, and you can perhaps share on that in a moment. But businesses do evolve. We evolve as human beings, so it's natural that as we evolve, our passions change, our missions change, our values change, our goals change, and so when so many people feel it might be a failure that they've gone off in a certain direction thinking it's exactly where they want to be and what they want to do and who they want to work with, to then go, oh no, this doesn't feel good anymore, and to then reassess, reevaluate, and go, oh, how can I get back to a place of feeling good? And it's not a failure. The stuff that you've done to get you to where you are at this point in time was all needed. It just and sometimes maybe you did it out of the wrong. I mean, I know I've done stuff completely from the wrong motive, completely the wrong motive, and I knew right from the start that that didn't feel good. But we live and we learn, right? But if you've been doing stuff with the right motive and the right intention, and you're over there and you're like, no, that's not right, it's not a failure. You were supposed to do that thing. So yeah, I love that, and that it's that feeling,
Mm,
we know, we do know in our bodies, and but we need to trust it. I think so many people don't like to trust what their body's telling them because their head's going, like you were saying, all of these things I've already invested, the sunk cost of the time, the energy, the money, the coaches, the programs, the whatever. It does feel really hard to change direction, but you have to. If you trust that inner knowing that's going on inside, if you don't change direction, the direction you're going in isn't going to work anyway. So you're better off changing direction.
exactly, exactly. And going back to what you were saying, The thing I always trust is when I'm having, especially when I'm having wobbly moments, because we all have wobbly moments, a part of life, is I'm exactly where I'm meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have more wobbly moments as self-employed than as employed as well, don't we? For
Probably,
sure.
probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we do. I think they yeah. Anyway. So tell us a little bit about your history because as I touched on, you have moved and changed your business, haven't you? So what
Yes,
led you to the first, well, I think you have had two businesses.
yes,
Would I be right in saying that?
yes, yes.
So what led you to the first business and then what led you to change to what you're now doing?
So when I used to be in corporate, and I remember being in a car with a senior manager, and we were on our way to hire some year out graduates. And I said to him, Terry, what got you to where you are today? Because obviously I was a keen graduate myself. And he said, well, I started in the company as an apprentice. I then got a proper job. He made me a full-time person, got promoted, got married, had children, and the pension is far too good to leave. And although on the outside I was beaming, on the inside I was like, oh my word, that sounds like you've been given a life sentence.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to myself that I would never work for anybody longer than 5 years because I didn't want to get into that trap. Well, Sue, once I finished my degree, I went back to the company, and before I knew it, 5 years had passed, 10 years had passed, 15 years had passed, and I was turning into Terry because I'd got married and I had my first child, and I was like, I did keep on checking in on myself, and every check-in point, I was like, oh, it's not quite the right time. I haven't got enough experience, not quite qualified enough to go somewhere else. So lots of excuses. Anyway, it got to the point where I was like, I actually need to leave. And I broached the conversation with my husband, who was like, you're crazy. It's such a stable job. You're doing so well. And I'm like, yes, but inside I'm slowly dying. He was like, okay, I believe in you. So fortunately, there was voluntary redundancy. So I took redundancy and I went to see a life coach. And the first question she asked me, she was amazing, Anna Duckworth. She is like, oh, my mentor, amazing lady. She said to me, what do you really want to do? And without even thinking about it, the words that came out of my mouth were, I'd love to have my own business, but I don't know what I would provide. Because at that point in corporate, I was a project manager and I knew I didn't want to be a contractor and go out and do
Yeah.
project management for other people. So I was like, I don't know what the thing is that I would offer. And she goes, that's all right. We'll explore. So we explored, and the idea I came up with was to promote local Bristol artists because, artists are wonderful in what they do, and yet they're not very good at marketing themselves and putting themselves out there and saying, I'm amazing. And at the same time as doing this, because I gave myself a year to decide what I wanted to do when I grew up, I was also blogging as Mummy on a Break just on Facebook as a way of recording like my year and my journey and my experiences so that I was taking advantage of this gift that I'd been given of a year out. And also, if I could inspire other mums who had got to a point where they were thinking, well, I want to do something for me as opposed to my family, then that would be a bonus.
Yeah.
So I'm building this business, fill that space. I'm blogging as Mummy on a Break. And like you said earlier, something wasn't aligned. I was doing the things because I was very good at doing things. You give me a job, I will smash it. I'm not going to fail. And yet it was like, why does this not feel like this is what I should be doing? And so I again did my own exploring and thought, I need to be helping people like me, people who need a change and they need someone to hold their hand because they don't know how to make that change happen. So
Yeah.
I wound down Fill That Space, which was my art business, and I thought I'll create an online course so that mums can do it in their own time because, we're very busy as mums. Each day looks different. When we've got free time, isn't going to be the same time. So I thought I'll create this loving course, put it online, and then mums can access it and they can do it when they're able to. So that's what I did. I created this amazing course, poured in all my blood, sweat, and tears, lots of sunk costs. Um, and I released it into the world in the beginning of 2020. Now, I don't know if you've seen the film Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, where the ghosts say to him, build it and they will come.
Well, I've not seen the film, but I know that phrase very well.
Build it, they will come. In the film, he builds it. Everybody comes. In reality, Maria publishes it and she gets tumbleweeds. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
was at the moment that we then went into lockdown.
Yeah, and of course, you've built something with no, you've not done a viability check on it to make sure people actually want it. And my immediate thought as you were sharing that was like, if I was a mum and I needed support with my life and the direction I was going in and finding my joy and my passion and all of that stuff, I don't know if I'd do an online course. Because what I'd want is the conversation and the bouncing of ideas, because so much of this deeper stuff you can't do on your own because it's deep
Yeah.
and it's deep for a reason because you've pushed it down there. And so trying to pull it out on your own is either really damn scary or you're just not going to identify what's actually holding you back. So I love that you that you've created the course. But yeah, I was thinking, this isn't going to end well.
So you already knew the ending. So lockdown happens,
I
and
thought you
I'm
might prove me
thinking,
wrong, actually, Maria.
oh,
I thought you were
no,
gonna,
sorry.
but
No, no, I proved you right. Um, Lockdown comes, and I'm thinking, well, I need to generate some income because we can't live on air. And I was thinking, okay, then, so what have I got that I think other people would benefit from? And I've been podcasting for about 8 months up until that point. So I thought, that's all right. Everybody's now online. I'll do live 1 hour interactive workshops and I'll teach people how to podcast because I know people think it's difficult because I thought it was difficult. It's not difficult. That's what I'm going to do. And that's where my success started from. So I had
okay.
about 40 people sign up to the first one. Um, and then I thought, okay, then so what other things can I teach in an hour? And I did master your mindset, make money from your superpower. But there was still this thing in my head going, I still want to help people on a one-to-one basis. I still want to help women go from where they are today, feeling stuck, to living the change that they want. So I did my coaching qualifications. That made me more wiser. And then I started coaching women. And it's about, for me, I help women who are fed up and frustrated create the change that they desire. Because that's why we feel stuck. We feel stuck because we want to change stuff. And yet, either we don't know how or we're not brave enough to take
Yeah.
that step to the change.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because as you just said, we often know that something's not right, but we don't always know what that thing is that's not right. We just know that life's not ticking along at the rate that we want to tick it along at. It's a bit, it's just a bit meh. And that's why I was saying earlier that doing a course doesn't really, yes, it might identify some of the surface level stuff, but I don't think it really pulls through what's actually holding you back. And that's where one-to-one work becomes so potent and not just about finding out what it is that's actually holding you back, but also having that person to keep you feeling safe as you make those changes, because it does take courage, it does take bravery to either voice your needs or ditch your corporate career as you did, or change direction in your sole tradership as I've done and you've done. All of these things, well, nobody's saying it's easy. We're saying it's necessary if you want to live a fulfilling life and have a fulfilling business. But it is really hard. And so I do think, to do it on your own, well, you're just never going to quite you're either not going to make it happen as quickly, or it's not going to happen at all, or you're not going to identify, as we just said, exactly what it is that's holding you back. You'll find something and you might get a little bit closer to that glimmer, but you'll never quite reach it. As I was speaking that, I was just thinking about how AI coaching has started to come into the world. The beauty of AI coaching. I'm like, and I'm never worried about this because I genuinely believe that unless you have somebody like you or I on the end of a call, on the end of a phone at any, my clients get me on WhatsApp, not quite 24/7, but they get me between calls, not just on the calls, but
Yeah.
between as well. And I know that you would support your clients implicitly. But yeah, it's having that person that helps you to feel safe as you take these brave, courageous steps to make changes. However small those steps might look to the outside person, they're still really big to the person making them. And the nervous system doesn't like that. It likes us to carry on as we are because that's what it's familiar with. And so, yeah, don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what I needed to say on that.
AI is interesting though. I think it very much has its place. It cannot replace that human
No.
interaction though.
No, exactly. I agree. I mean, I use AI within my business for various bits and pieces, but none of it is, everything it helps me do is all based on stuff that I've created to start with. So, for one, it's not creating for me, it's creating with me. And the human connection piece is so huge. And I don't know if you're spotting this, but I'm really starting to see a shift this year in particular in people wanting to be in person with each other. Because Zoom is great. We wouldn't be doing this now if Zoom didn't exist. Well, we probably could because you're Bristol, I'm Devon. It's possible. We could have hired a podcast studio. It's a lot easier to sit on Zoom and record. And I do most of my client calls, even my local clients, I have on Zoom because it's just easy. But that being in the room with real people, like feeling their energy, having those conversations, I'm certainly feeling the power of that and the impact of that on me and therefore on my business. Are you feeling the same?
So for me, I like the flexibility of Zoom. However, and I was thinking this, so during the week, usually my husband is with me 3 out of the 5 days. So I'm not alone all the time. However, this week he's on a course. So I am by myself for four days. And that's when I notice that I need the people interaction. So I couldn't work in isolation just via Zoom.
Yeah,
I, n- I mean, I could do it for like, I'm doing it now, but I need to be out with that human interaction, whether it's doing something part of my business or if it's just socializing.
yeah,
It would, I mean, I'm an extrovert, so I'm okay with my own my own self. I feed off of other people's
yeah.
energies though, so I need proper
You need to be with
interaction
people.
with people. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how
absolutely.
I re-energize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm the opposite. I'm an introvert, and so I re-energize on my own. However, I also get a huge amount of energy from and inspiration and empowerment and all of that by being in the rooms with the right people. You know, not all the rooms are for me. Um, and that's for everybody, right? Not every room is going to be right for everybody. But finding those right rooms with those people that you just like are yourself with, you're truly authentic, and you come away and you're like, "Oh, that was such a great hour, 2 hours, day, whatever," has such a powerful impact on your business. I think I don't know about you, but during the lockdown and then obviously after the lockdown, I became very much like, oh, I must sit at like my laptop and like work at my laptop and be at home because I've got an online business. And it took me a long time to really start getting back out in the world and actually seeing people in real life for business purposes. I was obviously seeing friends and so on for social. But now the more I'm doing it, the more I'm feeling the positives of networking. And I was sharing with you before we hit record that yesterday I travelled for 2 hours to go to a networking event. I mean, I was a speaker at it, but I will be going back next year because it was so phenomenal that I'd be happy. I'm happy to drive 2 hours to go and spend a day with, it was about 40 of us, 40 incredible women in business, meeting new people, reconnecting with people I've met before. But just the energy that you leave that space with is so positive, and you bring that home to your family, you bring it home to your business. And if we just sit at our desks every day behind Zoom, we're losing a lot of that. And yeah, so there's that balance between using AI in the ways that feel good for your business, but then also let's get the humanness of the business going too, because you are your business.
Mm.
If you're a solo business owner, your energy is your business. And if you're not feeding that energy, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, if you're not feeding that energy, then your business is ultimately it's not gonna survive. It's not gonna be sustainable.
And I think energy is really important because I'm not I'm not confident that everybody realizes that at the end of the day, we are all energy. We are
Mm,
not, just because my arm ends here doesn't mean I end here. So if we're not doing the right things for us as business owners, other people are going to feel it, even if we don't realize it, or if we think they don't, keeping your feelings to yourself and going, okay, then I just need something really bad's happened in my business. But if I just keep this face, nobody will know. They might not know consciously, but unconsciously they know. And then you'll see how interactions change. So it's really important as business owners to make sure that we are getting what we need so that we can represent ourselves authentically and be 100%, I say 100%, be as healthy and fit as we can be.
yeah.
Self
Yeah.
self-care is so important. And I know, people go, oh, self-care. It is. It's you have to look after yourself. The only person who is responsible for looking after you is you.
Yeah. And self-care, I mean, yes, it's bubble baths, but actually it goes so much deeper than that, doesn't it? It's actually honoring your body, honoring your health, mental, physical, energetic, emotional, all of that. And noticing when things are dipping and doing something about it. That's what self-care really is. It's not about the candles and the bubble bath and having a massage every week and all of that lovely stuff,
Mm.
but very surface level. It's
Mhm.
actually a whole load deeper, and it's about the self-worth piece, I think, as much as anything else. Do you feel worthy of actually looking after yourself?
Mhm.
Because if you don't, then your energy will feel depleted. You will feel depleted, and as you've just said, that will shine out to the world, whether you know it or not. People will see it, and well, they'll feel it
Mm.
actually.
They
They
will
won't
feel it.
necessarily see it, but they'll definitely feel it. Wow. Okay. We've gone all over the place here. I am going to have to bring it. We could talk all day, I think. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. This is the energy. This that we're demonstrating right here, right now on this Zoom call is the energy of us bouncing off each other and me being sparked by what Maria's sharing, her being sparked by what I'm sharing. And when you're in that aligned energy, the conversation flows. And so I'm choosing quite intentionally the guests I bring onto Pep Talks because I want conversations like this. I don't want it to be stilted, me interviewing. And so thank you for bringing your authentic, most amazing energy to this call. One question that I finish with every episode is simply this: what do you do to bring peace and ease into your life and your business?
Every morning and every night, I do the same thing so that I can start the day in the best way possible and I can end the day knowing that I'm going to wake up and get the opportunity to do the same thing differently the next day.
Lovely. And would you be willing to share what those things are that you do?
Of course. So I'm going to start with the night thing because it's much easier. So I will always journal because you need to get out of your head the stuff that is just circulating. And whatever is circulating, I just let the pen
Yeah.
do the work. So I do a brain dump. Sometimes I write a lot. Sometimes I write not so much. Sometimes I need extra pages that I don't have. And then lying down, I do, it's not called box, but it's sort of like box breathing. Anyway, I inhale for 4, I hold for 2, and I exhale for 8, and I do that 3 times. Then I make a promise to myself on how am I going to be a better person tomorrow?
Ooh, that's a question to leave our listeners with, isn't it? Um, how can I be a better person tomorrow? Love that. Okay.
Then I say, what's one action I'm going to take tomorrow? Something I know I will do, something that's easy rather
Yeah.
than putting like a burden on yourself.
Yeah.
And then finally, I put my hands on my heart and I say, this day is complete.
Oh, I like that.
And I roll over and I hopefully go to sleep.
Oh, nice. Okay. And your morning routine?
So my morning routine, I get up at 6:30, I go downstairs and I make myself a cup of herbal tea. No radio, no nothing. And I sit in the conservatory so that I can look out
Mm,
onto the garden. I will then do so I do I massage my lymphatic or
yeah.
my points. I then do my head and face massage. I'll then do like some lymphatic drainage by jumping around and doing certain exercises. And then I do a final 5 minute stretch.
Nice. So you're waking your body and your mind up, but also in a really calm way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And it sounds like no caffeine for the first chunk of the
No,
day by the sounds
well,
of things.
I don't drink any caffeine that I'm aware of. And it started first of all because when you're pregnant, you're told,
Yeah.
avoid caffeine. And then I realized that when I do have caffeine, I literally feel like I've been given drugs. So, I can feel tingling in my fingers
Right.
and I'm quite like, it's not that I'm jumpy.
A
It
bit
just like
jittery.
the energy that caffeine gives me is just, I feel out of control, I suppose I want to say
Wow.
really.
Yeah.
So I avoid it.
Nice. Oh, I love that. I love your bookends of the day. That they are beautiful. So hopefully somebody can take something from that. And I guess I would just say you don't have to do all of these things. Maria's obviously set up this beautiful routine, but I don't suppose you started with all of those things all at the same time.
No.
You've just added on and added on and added on as you felt appropriate. So maybe if you're not currently doing anything in the mornings or as you go to bed, pick something that Maria's just shared, something that really hit you and went, oh, that sounds good, and start implementing that over the next week. And then you can maybe layer on something else in a couple of weeks' time. So, like any habit or any actions, we want to keep them super small because then, as you quite rightly said, we're much more likely to do these things. So, and I would love you to share with us if you do pick on something, send me a message. I can pass it on to Maria. In fact, I'm going to ask her about her contact details in a second. But send us a message if you try any of these things out and see an impact. We'd love to hear from you.
Mm.
So, Maria, how can people connect with you moving forwards if they've enjoyed what they've heard from you today and they would like to know more?
So come and find me on LinkedIn because that's where I hang out the most. Maria Newman. I think there's only one of me. You'll find me.
Well, I'll drop your link in the show notes anyway, so people can check you out down there. And is there any way of like getting on your email list? Do you have any like lead magnets that you can offer people
I
or
do.
freebie?
I do. I have a life assessment. So, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, if you're feeling a bit like something's not quite right, but you're not quite sure what it is, this is a really simple 10-minute quiz you can take, and it identifies parts of your life that you might want to focus in on because they're feeling like they need topping up somehow.
Amazing. Okay, so I will make sure that is also linked in the show notes. So you can go check that out if that sounds like something that would help you out. So thank you again, Maria, for joining us today. It's been a fabulous chat. As I said, we could have probably talked all day. I will say goodbye and love you and leave you. Thank you again, and thank you to everybody for listening. As ever, if you have enjoyed this episode and you think you know some, or you do know someone, not if you think, if you know someone who would enjoy listening to this as well, please do share it with them because the more we can spread this word out there, the more change we can make in the world. And that's certainly what Maria and I are here for. So yeah, please do spread the word and hit that subscribe button, hit, the 5 stars, all of that stuff if you've enjoyed what you've listened to. Um, for now, I will say goodbye. We'll be back with you next week. Thank you for tuning in.